One of the worst things that you can do to a human being is remove the right to say I'm hurting. So like, we don't let content creators complain. They're not allowed to complain. And so if you sort of think about it, these are the slice of human beings like celebrities, content creators, people who are privileged or powerful. They don't get to complain because we get so infuriated. But this is where I hate to break it to y'all, but one of the things you learn as a medical doctor is like, I've had rich people, I've had poor people, I've had billionaires, I've had CEOs, I've had heads of state flying over from the Middle East to come to Massachusetts General Hospital for this kind of care and that kind of care. Like, you know, and like everyone's got a brain. That brain is roughly the same. Everyone's got an amygdala. And what's so terrifying that people don't understand is that content creators are incredibly isolated. Incredibly isolated. Even their friends will abandon them at the first sign of drama. So you can't make friends anytime I'm just sharing just a simple example, but like, you know, once you're a content creator, I'm sure you have had these thoughts. If someone approaches you, in the back of your mind, you're always wondering, okay, is this really about this person getting ahead? Are they looking to collab? Do they like me? Or do they like the base? Yeah, right? And you never really know. So it's an incredibly isolating experience. We do not really allow those people to complain, you know, which means that they end up suppressing a lot of this stuff. And thankfully, like one of the things that I'm proud of is that we will talk to content creators. And the reason we built this program is because we were able to have conversations with them where we treat them like human beings. And then the beautiful thing is that you see that these are human beings just like you and me. They're not some mythical creature that is impervious.
Unworthy of sympathy.
Absolutely. Right? And I think all human beings deserve compassion, even the ones that are the most hated. And that's hard.
That was definitely something I realized. Last couple of weeks have been emotionally pretty difficult for me. And especially when you're feeling emotions very closely, it showed me, I was acutely aware of how completely fucking humanizing most of our behavior to each other is on the internet. You know, a good example of this, love him or hate him, it doesn't matter. Jordan Peterson, a guy who went through hardcore benzo withdrawal for a full year. And people were like mocking his daughter for trying to help, making jokes like, who is this guy to teach us anything when he's addicted to benzos and opiates and all of this stuff? And you go, you do understand that on the other side of this experience is someone going through fucking anesthesia and hardcore benzo withdrawal at the same time. And it doesn't matter. You don't need to like his message. You can even think that his message is a bad thing, but like, that's just straight up suffering. And for someone to look at, pick anybody else pick someone from the fucking, or pick someone from like whatever side of the political spectrum you want. It really highlighted to me, because I was feeling my emotions like so in such a raw manner. It's like, God, if I was going through this in a more public way, which is one of the reasons that I think keeping your private life private is an incredibly good tactic for anybody that's online. Going through difficult emotional things is hard. Going through difficult emotional things with a few million people having their opinion on it too, it must be fucking possible. And it made me think about the dude that was in Jonah Hill. He was in like some story, like therapy speak and stuff. Do you see this? It came out last year. He was in some uproar story, and his entire sort of breakup got exploded onto the internet. I was like, looking back, everybody had an opinion, myself included. I was like, hey, this isn't like a plaything. This isn't like, this is somebody's life. This is an experience, like a hardcore emotional, phenomenological experience they're going through. You don't get to fucking this around like it's a football.
Yes. I mean, I agree with you. So let's just a couple of points. So the first is that I think that just talking about benzo withdrawal for a second. So I don't think people know how bad akathisia is. I've had patients who have literally jumped out of third floor windows because their akathisia is so bad. So for people who don't know, akathisia is like a sense of restlessness that is so severe that it can lead to suicidal behavior. And most human beings have no reference for how that is. Just imagine you being uncomfortable, right? Like you want to move, but then anytime us normal humans move, we feel more comfortable. Just imagine that it is impossible for you to get comfortable and that feeling persists forever. I mean, akathisia is one of the most debilitating side effects that I've ever seen as a psychiatrist. I think that the second thing to keep in mind is that you keep on talking about optics, right? So this is what's so terrible about being a content creator. You don't get to live a normal life anymore because your life is always under a microscope and everything that you do is judged. I've had patients who are psychotic And what I mean by psychosis is this is the clinical term. This doesn't mean that they're crazy or anything like that. So psychosis is the presence of delusions or hallucinations or persecutions. I've had patients who have persecutory delusions. So or hallucinations. What that means is that as they walk around and live their life, we have the voice of the devil constantly telling them that they are a piece of shit. And now what we've created for content creators, that's a reality. Like literally, you post a picture of you eating a taco and people are like, this is cultural appropriation against Mexican people, right? And the way that our brain filters this information, there's no compassion for these people. And this is where like, you mentioned Jordan Peterson and Jonah Hill and stuff like that. And I'm with you. Like, I think that we should have compassion for all human beings. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. I think that you can disagree with someone. And even if you think someone is like toxic, like I'm not supporting the work that they do or things like that. But I think that like my overwhelming experience, and we've had a couple of, I've done a couple of interviews with people who are bad. And I overcame a technology addiction and everyone's like, yay, go Dr. K, right? But Jordan Peterson is struggling with a benzo addiction, which I think who is he to talk about it? Like that's who he is. I mean, if we look at the data, peer support, Alcoholics Anonymous is the best intervention for overcoming addiction, statistically. Now, I don't think it's actually the best, but just in terms of numbers. The majority of people actually get sober without anything. But so who is he? He's the one who's lived through it, right? And why is it that I get applauded for overcoming an addiction and becoming faculty at Harvard Medical School, and this guy is called a hypocrite? Right? He has experience. And I'm not saying that everything he says is good. The one thing, and I tend to not comment about people that I haven't talked to, but we've had people on stream who have been in jail for murder. We've had people on stream who have polysubstance use and have particular political affiliations and that people don't like. And then I think the main thing to understand is that when you get to it, everyone is a person. Everyone is a person. And something about the way that the internet is structured is it's actually designed to not let you see the person.
Yes.
Is designed to let you see such a slice of the person. We remove, I don't know too much about Jordan Peterson, but like, I know he goes and gives talks, right? So he'll like talk for 2 hours. And what do we see? We see some 60-second clip. And that's what happens. We don't get the actual person. We get an inflammatory slice of the person without any context. And so I think it's brutal on people. And I think that's why people quit. And everyone's confused. Why are celebrities like, look at people like Michael Jackson, right? Substance use problems, arguably suicide. Like, I mean, this shit happens all the time. It happens to musicians. It happens to celebrities. It's going to be happening more to content creators. Thankfully, they're burning out and quitting, right? Instead of worse.
Maybe save their fucking life. Yeah. I mean, even if you're not, in the last 15 minutes, even if you're not a content creator, everybody is in one form or another. Very few people aren't putting parts of their life on the internet.
Yeah.
And to be honest, if it's not your job, if this isn't your day job, and you are still choosing to expose yourself to this level of criticism from, again, mostly random people or maybe even friends, like that's maybe even worse for you. Like, yeah, your identity isn't wrapped up in it, but you're still subject to all of the same problems, and you're electing to just drop yourself into this.
Yeah, I mean, so going back to, Jonathan, is it hate? Or
Height.
Yeah.
He's tall, he doesn't hate you.
and so I think that's where we see some of these very clear negative impacts from social media use, which is that, yeah, everyone is a content creator. And so everyone experiences this to some level, right? So even if I post a picture of myself and it gets 2 likes, if I post a picture of myself tomorrow and it gets 4 likes, I feel really good. If I post a picture of myself the next day and I get 4 likes, then I feel constantly moving goalposts. You can never win. And this is what's so hard about being a content creator is you start at 1 million and it's a huge celebration. 2 million is half the celebration and twice the work. And it just gets worse and worse.
Yeah, I have a story about when we hit 1,000 subs, I think me and my editor went out for food. When we hit 10,000, we did something else as well. When we hit 100,000, we got helium balloons and we got a cake and we did all the rest of it. When we hit 1 million, we got a 5-minute phone call and then like went back to the grind. And we're about to hit 2 probably before this even comes out. And I don't know whether we've got anything planned. So yeah, James Smith has this really good insight where he says all wins feel the same. His point being that the first time you buy yourself your first car is maybe even more enjoyable than when you buy your $300,000 dream car.
Yeah.
The first time that you move out of the house and go into a rental apartment may be better than when you buy your dream home that you're going to spend the rest of your life with. All wins feel the same. There is no Uber surcharge for you having achieved something that's 10x worth of that. The point being that just wins are good. And that's wins in the therapy room. That's wins with hitting a meditation streak. That's wins with sticking to your word, having a difficult conversation with someone. And I think we've stripped away, because of the comparison game, anything. It feels fragile and narcissistic and shameful to take pleasure in something which isn't grand, because so much of our life is performative. And look at oh yeah, good work, man. Like, Ray for waking up on time today. And it's like, no, fuck you. This is a thing. I did a thing.
Yeah, I mean, completely. So I think there are a couple of things to keep in mind. Is I think it is important for anyone who has any kind of win to have gratitude, right? So I think that if we look at all wins feel the same, the interesting thing is that we control a lot more of how we feel about a win than we realize. And a big part of the work that I do with creators is helping them appreciate. You say that you have nothing planned for 2 million, which is cool. We didn't have anything planned for 2 million. And also, like, the joy that you create is partially created by you. And so for creators, it's like helping them appreciate that they got to 2 million, which is a lot of win, which they can't see because of the way that their brain is structured. And also it's people who are depressed, 25-year-old gamers who have trouble getting out of bed, who feel ashamed of their wins. And that's so devastating. Just think about that, right? If you're someone who's struggling to get out of bed every day, and you get out of bed on the 5th day after struggling, and you were ashamed of your win, how the fuck are you ever going to do anything?